All right, so I dropped your model in, and so the thing about Rhino with these exclamation points is that whenever you have to pay attention to the command line after you run the command that caused this, right? Because if I click them now, it just says that I'm selecting 20 text dots, which doesn't help me at all. So I'm gonna delete those. Um, but anyways, the text dots they don't just go anywhere. They're showing you where the issue is. And so I'm assuming you were trying to do a Boolean difference with the airway thing, and that's why you got these text dots. It's just showing you like the edges are naked here. So that's why you can't do a Boolean difference. So I have the like an airway thing cutter. So I'm gonna just drop that in there, and we gonna make the dots pop back up. So I'm gonna run Boolean difference. We know it's not gonna work. All right, I get those text dots again. So let me hide that cutter. Delete those text dots. So let's just look at the shank real quick. All right, so the I have a setting set to where like this highlighted yellow that's on the inside and like partially on the side is showing me the inside of the object. So basically, just by looking at this, I could tell that something happened when you drew your curves. But so by default, you won't have that setting. So I'm gonna show you how to actually diagnose that. So if we cap it, try to cap it, it's gonna say unable to cap. Openings are not closed or are planar. So I'm gonna hide your shank. Don't know what that is. We can't hide that. That's your prong. And we're gonna look at your curves. So your curves are either open or they're not planar or both. So let's see. If we select this curve in the command line, it says that one open curve was added to selection. So that's issue number one. Your curve is open. So you won't be able to, you can sweep it and you can do you made your shank, but you won't be able to do any Booleans or anything because the curve that you used to build your shank was an open curve, which means now your shank is open. Even though it might look closed whenever you're just looking at it. That one is also open. So, all right. So your curves are open. Or actually, let me undo that delete. So there is a command that you can run to close your curve. It's called closed or close CRV, close curve. And it's gonna add like line segments until your curve is closed. So now it's a closed curve. But we just gonna redraw it. Let's look at this one. This one doesn't look planar. So if it says it's not planar, that means that it's not, you see that right there? Like this. That means that it's not perfectly flat against the C-plane. So those like edges that's kind of like off, that's why the shank looked that's why it's like this on the sides. Like basically the program is trying to figure out like what's the inside and what's the outside. So let's delete that. And let's delete your curve. All right. So I'm going to draw in a new ring rail. So I'm going to do circle, Center a circle. 15.7. That's what it was yesterday. Okay. We could drop this down to be sitting on the ring rail. All right. I'm going to go in right view. And we're going to draw another rectangle. I'm going to turn on my grid snaps so that way we can make sure that it's lined up perfectly. I'm going to explode it. Right. I'm going to do blend CRV. Or let me go back. All right. And extend this one out. Blend these two. All right. Okay, and so I'm going to take this curve and this one, and I'm going to rejoin them. I don't need that one anymore. So I'm going to go back to front view. So one thing I need to do is I need to move my profile to where it's sitting on the ring rail. So that way we can make sure our ring is the right size. So I'm going to remove, I want to move this curve. I want to snap to the midpoint of the curve. And I want to move it to the quad of our ring rail. All right, so now that's good. Now I'm going to rotate, copy it from the origin. Hold shift, snap down to the 6 o'clock, click. Rotate 90 degrees to the 3 o'clock, click. And then we're going to rotate to the 12 o'clock and left click. So now I got 3 profiles and my ring rail. So I'm going to select my ring rail and then those 3 curves and hide everything else. And so now I'm going to do my sweep 1. I'm going to select my rail. I'm going to select my curve at the 12 o'clock, the 3 o'clock, and then the 6 o'clock. All right, we need to line up our curve seams. Make sure they're in the same place. And make sure the arrows are pointing in the same direction. Enter through. Perfect. All right. Now, of course, the top one needs to be taller than the rest of them. So I'm going to go into right view. I have that curve selected. I'm going to run scale 1D. I'm going to snap to the midpoint at the bottom, and then I'm going to snap to the midpoint at the top. And before I click anything, I'm going to go back to 4 view so that way you can see it as it's like happening. So like I said, this little window is going to show you how many millimeters it is. So let's do that. Let's do it again. Make it a little bit taller. All right. All right, so this, I need to adjust. Let me go back before I broke history on that curve. And I need to go into my right view and kind of adjust the placement of the dome on this curve. Because I think that's what's causing the shank to look janky whenever I build out that curve. Is because of like how the dome is. So I'm gonna select that curve, and let's just mess with the control points a little bit. Let's see, bringing it down a little bit, maybe those, and then bringing these out. Let's see. So now let's go to our front view with the top curve, and let's extend that one out, and let's see what we get. It's starting to like, let's bring it out some more. Nope. Let's try to mess with this bottom one again. So I'm working with my Rhino history on, which means I can just, as long as I don't break the history, I can adjust this bottom curve that I initially built and I did copy rotates of. I can just change this one, and everything that was created using this curve is going to update. So that's how I'm able to do this and not have to like redraw anything. So now I'm going to select this curve at the top, and we're going to go mess with this one. Snap to the mid. So, and I'm kind of bouncing between doing scale 1Ds from the mid, and as well as just grabbing the control points and doing it like that. It's just a different way to get the same, end result. I'm just messing with it to make sure that this shank looks pretty smooth. We can even adjust this. No, I don't want to adjust that one because that's gonna. Let's see. If we adjust this one, it's also gonna adjust the middle one. I'm just messing with it until I get it where I feel like it looks the cleanest. I'll move on after this. Alright, that's good. It's good enough. I think I have to adjust the height of this one some more though, which is probably gonna make me have to go back and let's see if I drop these down. So we still need this one to be taller. Shit. Well, let me just hide the head, because that's kind of getting in the way. I need that to be about 3.7. That's good. And then let's go ahead and adjust the edit points, the control points. All right, that's good. Six. All right. So I'm gonna go in front view, mirror, so we can join this together. All right. I'm gonna draw some lines from F4 because I know we're gonna have to cut that out. We're gonna have to cut out the metal that's underneath the center stone. So let's bring in the airway cutter again. So again, I probably could have made the shank a little bit taller so that we have more metal right here. And I could have built this curve a little bit better so that way it's not like all janky right here. Rebuilding it might have helped, but whatever. So let me trim, or actually before I trim, we're gonna do a Boolean difference now. And it works because my shank is a closed poly surface. I'm gonna undo, select our shank, it's a closed poly surface, okay? So Boolean difference, that's closed. So now I'm gonna take these two curves, run trim to cut out the metal in the middle. Cut it out at the bottom. Let me see, let me hide everything else. Trim. All right, there we go. And so now I'll be able to cap this. All right, so I'm gonna drop in. I'm gonna move this to the side. And I'm gonna bring your model back in. And really what I want to look at is your curves. So this is your 6 o'clock curve, and we're going to take my 6 o'clock curve and we're going to compare them. So I'm going to put mine on the red layer and yours is going to be on the yellow. All right, let's go to our right view. All right, so the red is mine, the yellow is yours. So one thing is that yours is not like level. So that would cause the inside of your shank to kind of be lopsided. So what would happen is once that's casted and it gets polished, like it's going to be less metal on one side of the shank. because it's not even. But I'm going to select the curve that I have, and we can see in the command line, it's one closed curve added to selection. And then we're going to take your curve, and it says one open curve. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to extrude both of our curves. There goes your extrusion. And then here's mine. All right. So I'm going to cap mine. Caps perfectly. We're going to cap yours. Unable to cap. Openings did not have a closed planar loop of edges. So this was kind of like the long story short version of like this whole video. You ran into those issues because the curve that you started off with wasn't a good curve.